You see these on the side of the road, right? Crosses and memorials to loved ones. And most of the time you pass them by and don't even know the stories behind those memorials.
Yeah, recently we visited a memorial. This was on Trinity Boulevard in Euless that started with a single cross for a young woman who was murdered more than a quarter of a century ago. Our Karen Borda today showing us how that cross has now turned into a garden.
Off of busy Trinity Boulevard lies a serene patch of land covered in crosses. Each cross represents someone who's been murdered. But the Garden of Angels, as it's known, started with only one cross for Amy Robinson after she was murdered in 1998.
Amy was going to work riding her bicycle. The two guys that she worked with pulled her over and said, well, get in and we'll take you to work. Then they brought her out here in the middle of no place and used her for target practice.
Her grandmother, Carolyn Barker Mayfield, didn't want Amy's story to end there.
She wanted Amy to be remembered and not the people that killed her. She decided to put a cross out where it actually happened.
But soon other families of murder victims, having heard that Amy didn't like to be alone, reached out to Carolyn.
My wife asked Carolyn, is it okay if we put Chad's cross next to Amy's?
Robert Houston was the father of Chad Houston, a young man who was killed the same year as Amy.
It is a healing to talk about my son, how good he was. This world needed more men like Chad Houston.
And out of the mourning of these families, our Garden of Angels was born.
And it just fell together. It was never a plan, and it just grew and grew and grew.
In 2001, road construction forced the families to move the garden. They were in a bind, not knowing where they might put it. That's when the community stepped up.
Family members were just hoping for another piece of land to relocate the crosses. What they didn't expect was that the whole effort would snowball. Now more than a dozen sponsors have gotten together to create a whole new Garden of Angels.
As we documented in this 2001 report, they donated land to make it possible. They even helped move the crosses and planted trees. Now, after nearly 25 years, the trees have grown, as have the number of crosses, which currently stands at more than 150. Houston says after all these years, the garden still brings him comfort.
When we cry, we feel sad, but when we realize we're coming here because we love them, you start really healing better.
It brings families together through their connection of shared grief.
But everybody here has got the same story, different circumstances.
It brings them peace, despite the commotion coming from the busy highway.
Every one of these people were angels. Every one of them.
And it gives them hope that their loved ones will be remembered. Karen Borda, CBS News, Texas.